go live? Because
really
we might as well talk about that. Because
I'll just take my top off. I'm just going to undress one moment.
your normal fans, good afternoon. Oh, look. And then you go, guess what? He's done that. Oh dear. Well, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you might be in the world. We were just starting to discuss, I'll put it up here. This has dropped about an hour ago. There is a request to declassify information, as you can see up there. I'll put the link in on the side.
This could throw a spanner in the works if someone wants some facts. Goodness me. There's no place for facts in politics.
Absolutely. So it'll be very interesting to see. Well, it's just I ripped the links out of that one.
Can you believe anything you read on this site, though?
No, you can't. So you can click through and you can read different sentences yourself if you like. It's interesting it names Autel as well quite a lot. That is interesting because
it is the anti-CCP, not just anti-DJI, but anti-CCP.
Yeah, absolutely.
Countering CCP Drones Act.
Well, yeah, but that language sort of fell away, didn't it? And what I also wanted to say was that Bruce and I both separately in different parts of the Southern Hemisphere, the Jeep doors on, we were watching. It was quite extraordinary, the nonsense that was being spoken about. And
it was typical politics, wasn't it? I mean, here we got the Defence Authorization Act, and they're bringing in stuff related to climate change and gender equality. And I'm thinking, the guns, bullets, missiles, rockets, climate change, really? And we can't have them driving EVs because if a war started, it would take too long to recharge them. I'm thinking, my goodness, you people, what are you smoking there?
I know, it was quite... Sorry,
you noticed that previously the NDAA has had bipartisan support through the House and the Senate, but it was very much along party lines in this vote because they loaded it up with so much rubbish.
Yes.
And they can do that in the House because in the House, the Republicans have a majority and it's a Republican bill that's going through. But in the Senate, there's a Democrats have the majority. So it could stumble in the Senate, and that will be very interesting to see.
It's exactly where I was going. I thought at the time, as I was listening to it, yikes, as you noted, this had passed every year for 62 years. But the things others were saying was like, oh my hat, I'm not sure they're that pleased about that. I didn't actually realize that it will swing the other way, as it were, when it comes to the next one. DJI might be lucky here. They might yet be lucky. They might have been called out in the very year when it's not going to go through in its entirety. But as you say, the stuff about EVs, the stuff about, and some valid objections raised to some of the mega stuff. Unequal access to healthcare, basically for servicemen and particularly service women, depending on which state they're serving in. And it's not their fault that they've been posted to. Well, Texas was the one that kept coming up. So yeah, it could yet be derailed. But I think it's more interesting is that it's properly opened the debate. I think people have finally realised this is happening, and oh look out, Ian's here. He's going to come. He's going to come with an idea. So
it looks like he has an idea.
It looks like he's in the summer. He's coming to us from summer. And look at
one nice day of the year. Yeah,
it's summer today, is it? That's fantastic.
It is. It's arrived. So
autumn tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow will probably rain. Knowing my luck, it usually does. So good afternoon.
Good afternoon, mate. I don't know if you were listening out, but we were sort of discussing that. I think they might be lucky, and this might get thrown out.
The interesting thing in it is, you look at what's come out today. As you said, you quite rightly said, Gary, that's the first time I've seen Autel heavily called out, because they've always sort of ran under this radar up until now of the government stuff. If it doesn't go through, it won't be because anyone didn't want DJI banned. That's the irony in this. It's going to be because of party politics and all of the other fluff of going on.
I think that's very clear now, and certainly since the middle or end of last week, this has been, or the penny has dropped that this has been purely political and nothing else.
It is interesting. I don't know if you saw DJI replied to my video. Now, I always know they watch, but it's very rare they talk. But I had a very handwritten apply, and what I mean by that is a person I don't think is in China or someone fairly knowledgeable has written it under the DJI support account, and it's quite frank, which is quite unusual because the way they've written it is look, if Brendan was still there, I would have put money he wrote it, if you get my meaning, the way it was worded. And I'll try and find it here, but it is rather interesting that DJI, any videos about this, they're talking about it. And what they wrote was, hi there, according to the current evaluation, the potential ban would only apply to new models of DJI drones and other new products thereafter. The current products being sold in the US market and those that have been sold in the US market won't be impacted.
I can't
now,
believe
that
it.
is a very black and white statement.
How would they know?
And I'm not necessarily saying that's correct, but what is interesting is that is very down the line, down the line for them. They usually won't answer anything. Do you know what I mean? They won't admit to anything, and it's almost
could be
like
wishful thinking. It could be wishful thinking on their part, because if you look at it, they're claiming that these drones are a threat to national security. So if you don't disable the ones that are there, you're saying, well, we're happy to have these drones threatening our national security, but the new ones not so much. I mean, either they are or they aren't. It shouldn't matter whether it's made yesterday or tomorrow. No. It's either a threat or it's not.
Yeah. The interesting thing is, look, I think the reality here is this is a game of. This isn't about the public. This is about they don't want Chinese drones being used in government and in any form of. The problem they've got is this: they can't stop it unless they ban all of them. They have to throw the baby out with the bathwater here, because they know if they just said, they've tried the government method, haven't they? They did that 2 or 3 years ago, and that really didn't work. It didn't stop the police, the search and rescues. So they've basically ended up at the conclusion of the only way to solve this is to stop them being here completely. We're going to wrap it up in a security thing, because that's the easiest way to deal with this. And look, there's a lot of lobbying. This is 10 years of bite back coming together. And look, DJI are only to blame. They have only themselves to blame for this. And I'm not saying they've done anything. Most of what is being said is nonsense. But that doesn't mean they couldn't have headed this off 5-10 years ago if they'd have just done something like open up a US manufacturing plant, given a US only software, and that would have headed it off at the gate back then. But it's too late now. And I just don't see this. Ignore the bill, but I don't see anyone wanting to stop the DJI ban. If the bill doesn't go through, it won't be because of this. It'll be. But
the bill will go through. It has to go through, because the National Defence Authorization Act has to go through, and it is now part of that. So there's no doubt there may be all sorts of. They may send it back to the House to remove some of the woke stuff, but it will eventually go through. And because it's not an amendment that can be removed, it's part of the bill. It will go through. It's no doubt about that whatsoever, in my mind, anyway.
Yeah, and it's interesting. And the big change this time was, and it's very clever. You've got to give it to the people who've put this in this time, because the last 2 times it's been put something together that people need to vote in. Now it's really simple. It's so buried in such a big and important document that it now has to be intentionally pulled out, and no one is going to want to do that, because it basically means you're supporting China. And it's very, very well politically played. Very well.
How is it with Huawei in the US? I know that there was this big rumpus a few years ago. Has that now went back? Are they using Huawei stuff in the network?
No, I don't think so. I think it's still in effect, isn't it?
Is it?
It's game over. Yeah. I don't think they stopped the use of people's phones, though.
No, it was just the infrastructure.
It was just the networking. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can't buy the phones over there now, I don't think, but I don't think it was retrospective. So my understanding was it was what you had is what you had. It caused problems because they couldn't get Android updates anymore because that was closed off. So the security from a user perspective became more challenging. And I don't believe they're legally allowed now to be sold for use on the American networks, but that didn't mean it becomes really an import issue then, because it becomes a legal issue, which is it, if in any country to bring a product in, like in the UK is CE, is the product certified for all of the relevant requirements? And then what would happen is moving forward, it isn't, therefore you can't bring it in. It's less, it's still a ban, and it's not an import ban. It's just it's not legally allowed to be used in this country, so it would be confiscated at port. It's a bit like the illegal radios, with high power outputs and stuff like that. Because it's not certified, it becomes that kind of issue.
John said it could be technically dropped in reconciliation, but the thing is, there were nobody in all those hearings that I listened to challenged that part of the bill. They challenged, EVs and that sort of stuff, but this was never mentioned. So it seems to be accepted on both sides of the house that this is a good thing. So I don't think that part of the bill will be challenged.
You're seeing it all over X, Twitter, and I don't agree with it. I fundamentally don't agree that this is the right way to deal with this problem. Is it a good idea for the American government to be using Chinese drones, or the British government? I think anyone with an ounce of common sense would say, okay, that's not the greatest thing in the world. Let's stick to our own. But from a user perspective, it makes no real sense. But again,
I think I've said this before, or maybe you were not here. That the Finnish government is using Chinese drones.
Yeah,
but they're all open source.
Yeah.
So it's not. It shouldn't be about not using Chinese drones. It should be that if they're open source, then it should be okay.
Well, the good thing now though is that there is an alternative. You can buy a Red Cat freestyle drone with a bomb on it. You can buy free fixed wing. You can buy the whole lot now. Red Cat's filling the gap.
Yeah.
It's funny you should mention Red Cat, because it seems that I have them queued up, ready to go with that one. Yeah.
And they say, isn't it?
Yeah, well, quite by chance, but there's that. So we can delve into Red Cat. Let's get rid of that picture of them for now. But to rewind the clock a little bit, when you mentioned the storyline of it's not going to be, from the comment from the DJI person, it's not going to be retrospective, this, that, and the other. That seems to be the party line that's being thrown out by Vic and a few of the other people at the minute. It seems to me that is the next set of talking points that DJI are seeding out into the press and industry. And look, I've said it in many places, I'm nowhere near as afraid of aviation authorities as I would be radio authorities. They really do have special secret magic powers, and they have
TV detective ends.
Exactly, with the washing.
UK are the black monks themselves, right?
Exactly.
They are literally the most. They have some of the oldest, most wide-ranging powers that exist in the British law enforcement, and this is stuff that was created for when the BBC was like this, old chap, and to prevent people doing things that they shouldn't. It was, we'll basically let you do whatever you want as long as you don't leave bruises. And they are not the people you want knocking on your doors. They really are not.
Absolutely not. And there are provisions. As soon as something's in the NDAA, there are provisions, and I've foolishly not got them ready to demonstrate now, that they can pull retrospective. Now I'm putting it in the wrong way, but they can pull the old stuff as well. People are saying, well, they can't do that. They can't ban the old stuff. They've already approved it. No, they can. They can.
The FCC things pulled, that's it.
I don't think they can. I don't think there is any amount of noise. This is well beyond a few 100,000 hobby drone users, a few million hobby drone users, whatever it is. This is well beyond this now. This is we are in a new war, whether we like it or not. And I've been watching, I tell you what's very interesting. I've been watching Fallout on, if you've seen, there's a new TV series called Fallout on, and there's some really interesting parallels in certain things. But the reality is the world is headed back to protectionism. The world has become a smaller place. We are now all, it doesn't matter if it's China, Europe. You've got a wave across Europe right now of discontent with politics. It's reigniting. We've seen it in France. It's in Germany. It's happening again. Add on top of that, then, the concern for people's jobs and livelihoods as a result of
AI.
Just take China with the electric vehicles. They are set in the next 5 years to dominate the car industry and turn it upside down on a level like it's not been seen, because the car industry for years bumbled along quite nicely with the US, for instance, being very home brand centric, but allowing some Japanese stuff in and then making that a bit more difficult, allowing some German stuff in. And that happened in Europe. Now you've got the likes of BYD and others who are just walking in with cars £10,000 cheaper. We're not even talking, we're not talking chump change now. You're talking up some models compared to, say, the VW equivalent is £10,000, and the VW might be a better car. But if that £10,000 can go a long way in your pocket, and people are very, very interested in that. And yeah, it's no longer about the product. It's no longer necessarily about security. It's now about how do we protect our economies over the next 10 to 20 years.
It's going to get worse with AI, because the layoffs related to AI haven't even really started yet. I saw a really interesting video by Rick Beato. Notice some, like Ken Heron had this song on his channel, and it's an AI produced song, the vocals, the music, everything. You just put some prompts in, you can make songs now. And Rick Beato did one, and it's really good music. There's no people involved.
I haven't listened to it. I like Rick. I haven't heard it yet. That's
And it's like he couldn't tell the difference between this AI produced track and a proper track produced by people. And the thing is that we have so many of the creative arts being taken over by AI, things that you'd think, office task, boring, mundane stuff. No, it's the creative areas that, the videography. Now they're talking about some of the Hollywood studios are very close to producing entirely AI crafted videos, and some of them are amazing. So when these AI based job layoffs start hitting, we're going to have a lot of people with a lot of time on their hands and not a lot of money, and it's going to cause massive social disruption. And the first thing you do if you're a government is you start a war, because that brings the people together.
The AI thing is interesting because from a business perspective, the benefits are not as big as everyone thinks. What's incredibly disturbing, as Bruce has rightly said, there is the creatives, because what has been visible very quickly is how good it becomes very quickly at replicating almost how easy the creative process is for it. It's, in business, there's a huge amount of investment, and I've had a bit of involvement in some stuff, and it's a much longer play for business. So if you take a business and you say, okay, we introduce AI, can it replace all of your customer service reps? Not really. It can replace a percentage of them. Can it replace all of your admin staff? Not really. So it becomes a longer game, probably a 10, 20-year game. With the crazy stuff is, as Bruce has said there, copywriters, article writers, the online stuff, overnight, there's already a crazy percentage. That's something like 40 or 50% of articles being uploaded online today are AI written already.
Yeah, it's more than that.
Yeah.
I think we will become, in a way, this will, we will have a filter for that. I mean, think of it was 40 years ago or 30 years ago when, automation started in factories, especially, obviously in the UK, factories were the thing, cars, whatever it is. And then all of a sudden the automation came in and people lost their jobs and people were fearing robots. Now, in a sense, we are fearing AI. This is just a natural evolution in a way of technology, and I don't see the panic. I just think it's part of the evolution. Here where I live, when Nokia died, right? So Nokia died when Microsoft, and we bought Nokia, right? Now everyone thought that was the end of Finland. Everyone thought that was the end of this country, and it was going to die. But in actual fact, it wasn't. All the Finns, all the developers and everything, they all just put their backs up and went, well, we'll just do something else. And they did. They went into, game development and software development for apps and stuff. And, this literally happened overnight. So I think that when this technology, I don't like the fear. I hate this, that the AI is going to take over and take your job and everything. I honestly think that is, but, we can adapt. And if you don't adapt, you won't survive. And it's as simple as that.
The difference, I think, is that AI covers a lot more bases than automation. Automation, assembly lines, that sort of thing. It did one thing. It took some jobs, but you still needed office workers and that sort of stuff.
And you still need that, and you'll still need that, for people actually being creative. Because
someone will need to feed it its human sacrifices
Yeah.
at least once a day.
What'll happen is AI will start feeding on itself, and we get this negative feedback loop, and it'll just collapse. We'll have a psychotic moment and kill us all. I'm not trying to feel like it, though. Don't worry.
No, not in any way. No.
I think actually, Simon Strickland just saying, "Can AI detect AI?" I don't know if you've seen this Chat GPT when they had, they had the two phones and they were talking to each other.
Yeah.
That was stunning. I thought that. So I don't think AI can detect AI, Simon. No. I think and that was probably just the early days. It was actually very
Terminator. I do wonder. I am a bit. I do wonder if there is right now. If you look around the world, it's clear there's a huge amount of discontent politically for governments, and it's hard not to think that all of this rhetoric we're seeing around the world is being done to keep people stop thinking about the problems at home and keep worrying about the problems elsewhere. Because if you actually start worrying about the problems at home, UK, the NHS is a complete mess. You can barely see anyone. Although I was at the doctor's today, and to be fair, I got in today, and the stuff I'm having done is fairly quick. And so it does work, but there's a lot wrong in most Western countries. There's a huge amount that's not really going well. And having a big bad enemy to polarize people against tends to help governments. It's proven itself time and time again, hasn't it?
Especially in the USA, where you're spending trillions of dollars, isn't it, of taxpayers' money on bombs and guns and defense, which hopefully you'll never ever use. It seems to me like that makes a huge burden on people in terms of taxation, and it strangles your economy. If we could get rid of the defense industry in all countries, we'd be great. The world would be such a more better place.
It's the lifeblood of these countries, and you see what's happening in the US. They've had the surplus of all the weapons for years and years and years, and of course they just ship it all to Ukraine, which allows them to then pump more money into their own and do and do more development. It's a funny
from our current defense spokesman in the comments, Mick. I can't remember if he's servicing F-18s today or what he's fixing, but he needs to spend. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna support.
No self-interest at
EV. So no self-interest. So he's going to get to the thing. I tell the youngsters I teach that I firmly believe we're entering a post-truth age, and by that I mean a lot of the stuff that's generated by AI is going to be absolute bobbins, and
you won't be able to believe a thing you read or see.
I don't anyway. At least not on this string.
No, those
no,
days
absolutely. Nor unless it's used. Absolutely no.
Gary is merely an avatar. Yep.
I'm not blue. It's that would make me a Smurf.
Where's in Nevada? You got four.
A Nevada, there you go, a Nevada. Yeah, no, it's a very interesting time, and I only hope that. But people,
I don't think. So I was going to say, what I don't think will happen is I'm not convinced it will, regardless of what happens in the US. I think you'll see Australia do something.
Yeah. Because it's the 51st state.
I don't think the UK and Europe will strictly follow. I'm not convinced we will. We didn't with Huawei. We did restrict Huawei from infrastructure, over here. So, but that took an additional 2 or 3 years, I think it took, for that to happen. And the only reason I know about that, I was involved in that rollout, and we, when Huawei was being banned, we were literally rolling in, because we run a fiber rollout in the UK, and their network equipment was in every fiber cabinet around the country. And in fact, we moved to Nokia, because what Nokia pivoted into was a lot more infrastructure. And they now moved into Nokia network systems, which had the contract. But I'm not convinced DJI has a global problem. I think it has a very big US problem. I think Australia will follow, which I'm not really convinced it will be worried about.
New Zealand could follow, because we just follow anybody.
Yeah. But do you not think that if this does happen in the US, you don't, what will the implications be globally for the next drones coming out, for the next set of development? Let's say their possible roadmap, especially with the enterprise drones.
I think they'll play whack-a-mole. If I'm DJI, I would bet they will flood the market. They've started that game already. And okay, it's easy to identify 2 or 3. I think if DJI does get banned, you will see probably 10 plus white label brands appear out of nowhere.
Well, you say that, but I've been told by a couple of sources that those white label brands have made it. Of course, we haven't seen the full wording, but they have made it in. There's a catch-all phrase to get them, and that'll be based on. I'm not going to declare, like a similar way to your method of finding all these FCC filings.
Yes.
There are certain words in the filings for the equipment they use that you can instantly work out. Oh, that's a DJI something or other in a different wrapper, and they're pulling all those as well. So I think whoever had a hand in rewriting this version and getting it into the NDAA had their finger on the pulse. They realised what was happening.
So there'll be a burgeoning market in the export of second-hand DJI drones from America through eBay, eh? 1 cent on the dollar. That's what I offer.
I saw you did that. Well, I think, but surely the big takeaway. Well, there's a couple of things I want to say. Thing number A is surely buyers or councils or inspection businesses or whatever will be having a second look now at other options available to think about future-proofing themselves. And I'm getting a little bit over end of the world. Well, much like your take on AI, Steve, but it's the end of the world. This is the end of the drone industry. DJI is not the entire drone industry.
No.
And the end of DJI machines, it's just like, what? Nowhere near. Okay, so and are people that only use DJI gear, well, and they do get their jobs done and they do the work they need, are they really in the industry though? Or are they just using a tool, using a hammer? And that's what the advantage they've had. It's the easy use of the groovy wrapper.
It's just going to increase the cost.
But the main thing is that when you have companies that have invested in other software, which they are using DJI ones. This is the problem. Because it's just not just about DJI, and of course I've said this in the past. This is not about DJI. It's the whole infrastructure around it. It's the whole ecosystem. Because when you rely on that software, if you go to a client and the client says, "This is our software, we need you," and of course, yes, I do have that drone because but if you have Skydio or you have an Autel, it's then no, I don't. Then I have to go and buy that. And if you don't have that, then you're not going to get the job. But then if you take all those drones away, you then have large companies, and these are large industries that don't have drones that are using software, which they rely on you having DJI drones. And this is where it's going to hurt.
It'll pivot quick. It will pivot quick. If you look at Skydio,
yeah, I agree with you.
What is always interesting is how quickly industries and things adapt. And as Gary has said, there are people today who will have to stop, and it will end an awful lot of your roof inspection guys. Look, if I use that term, estate agent, real estate guys, because you're not going to have $40,000 to give Skydio. But overall, from the people who are doing data collection, search and rescue, they're going to be spending a lot more on the product. That's without doubt. You know, your 5,000 drone is just turned into a £30,000 drone or $30,000 drone. But you will still be able to do it, and it will kick the US. It will kick it forward, but it doesn't mean it's the good thing, because you're gonna pay more for this. Even if the technology matches, you're gonna pay more for the same thing, and that's the reality here.
Well, can't we argue that these vendors selling the software that people are using have just been lazy because they've been allowed to just develop for one?
It's like Apple software, Windows software.
I think that I don't think that they've been allowed to, because I think that it's up to the drone manufacturer to be able to issue the SDK. It's up to them to be able to say, you now have access. So here's our APIs. Let's get this done. And obviously for DJI, they've been able to do that. Skydio and all the rest of it, that's not been the case. Autel, I'm not sure, but I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, yes, I do. I do think lazy, but lazy from what side?
Autel have been a mess. Autel have just been a mess. As a business, they are a shambles. As a drone business,
but that's another thing. It doesn't matter whether this thing was happening or not. That's the way it was. Which is a great
problem. I'm not convinced they're big enough to supply enough drones that there needs to be. I think the big problem the US will have is they do actually have some really good drones. Look, there's no doubt Skydio deliver a very good product, not up to DJI from a photography standard, not there, but from a search and rescue and that kind of stuff, and the stuff they can develop quite quickly. Yeah, I think it's there. But can they smash out the volumes needed? Because what got DJI where it is was the fact that, I heard many years ago when the Mavic Air was released, it was something like 60% automated production. And from there, it went forward. Today, these quads are assembled by a person and robots, and they fly themselves off and calibrate themselves at the end of the line. There has to be a fundamental change in manufacturing in the US, because, 5 guys on a production line ain't making enough drones to replace DJI.
Having said that, there's a huge opportunity for little smaller businesses in mass to start making drones to replace. The 3 or 4 man operation making 10 or 12 drones a week. If you have 100 of those, that's quite a high production thing, and that could kickstart that kind of kitchen table drone manufacturing business.
As long as they have SDK, I would be interested.
Well, they use Arduino, of course.
Yeah, of course. I'm going to call this out. I'm actually going to call this out. GoPro might make a comeback.
Oh yeah, no,
I wouldn't be shocked. I don't know.
Aren't they made in China?
No.
Weren't they made in China?
I need to find a red card.
I said it here first, okay?
They could be sitting there waiting.
Yes.
Yes. Thanks, Bruce. Yeah. Yes. Red card.
Followed by 3DR.
No. Well, they're already back, aren't they? They're already back.
Chris is busy working as we speak.
Well, I do look at all the Pixel Ds and all that. If they just make it Mavlink compatible, suddenly that would open a raft of platforms up. That it's quite simple, and then let's get off the backsides and do it. And they're going to have to do something, aren't they, to keep going? Aloft themselves with the Anzu thing did have some SDKs that started talking to it. So I mean, it's not impossible. It's not impossible at all.
I wonder if we'll see people producing retrofits for DJI drones with US flight controllers and stuff that you can retrofit your Mavic, and it then becomes not a Chinese-made drone, so you're not losing your investment entirely. There's a whole lot of potential business opportunities could come out of this.
Yeah,
give your DJI a lobotomy. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been done before, hasn't it?
It's not it's doable on the older stuff.
Yeah.
The newer stuff is actually not, because they run something DJI and I noticed this actually in the last teardown, because clearly they were prepping for some stuff. Because one of the big things in the Avata 2 is there is barely any Western components in that drone now. And what I mean is ST microelectronics are gone. Everything is largely Chinese based, which means from a supply chain point of view, they can afford to be cut off and still produce. What they've also done with that is a lot more vertical integration, which has made it more difficult. But it's not impossible. It's how much the irony is no one has produced a product really even as good as an Inspire 1, which is now
old school,
over 10 years old. I think it was 2013 the Inspire 1 released.
My go-to drone.
I'm not convinced anyone has still made anything as good as the Inspire 1, and we are 10 plus years down the line. So there's a lot of catching up to do.
Red Kettle fixed it.
Yeah, Red Kettle solved it.
Yeah, well, we all saw that coming, and Orca have been showing off all their mixed reality goggles this week at that military show, the name of which I've forgotten.
HD? Are they HD?
I didn't bother looking, but it was very obvious that that's where the goggle manufacturers were going, was into the military market. I mean, as night follows day. And
I'm going to out and out say that no one should support any brand that openly, actively promotes the use of drones and FPV for military. And I mean actively promote it. Okay. And in the sense of, if you look at Red Cat, that there's some nasty stuff in that video. That video has we're not just talking a random drone. And Bruce's comments on my poster, because Bruce hit the nail on the head, because someone made a point of saying, how is this any different to a fixed wing? Because a drone has been vilified from the beginning. And that's the difference, isn't it, Bruce? Drones have been vilified from the start. And that's the difference here. But that Red Cat video, I saw that last night and I was like, oh wow, really? You're going?
I haven't posted it for that whole.
Well, I've nearly finished my video on the narrative, and the stuff that is out there is, when you look at it closely, it is just so much negative hype pushing against drones and our hobby. I think it's almost an existential crisis. We're reaching the point where now that all the military powers in the world are going to be building FPV drones with bombs on them, people in the street will look, oh, it's like someone walking down the street with an AK-47. Oh my God, it could be a terror attack. And it's just, I don't know where we're going to go from here. It becomes very difficult with this constant ongoing pressure. See that thing, the Mirror or the Sun posted that story with
but that's all. But that's all bad press. I mean, I don't click the Sun, I don't click the Mirror, because it's just promoting bad press. That is just bad journalism.
It doesn't matter that people just read it.
Yeah, I know, but we need to, I think that we, as a community, we need to be promoting good press. We need to be promoting.
That's the problem. You say as a community. We're not a community. We're a bunch of individuals.
No, well,
there's no community representation. There's no. We've got you've got all these FIA for model airplanes and things. There's no global drone body that represents drone users on a global stage with the power of all those people behind it. We've got little factions, and that's it.
I mean, from a global stage, I would actually agree with you on that, and actually that leads into something else. I mean, I know what is going on in the US and whatnot, and you have the Drone Advocacy Alliance or whatever it is there, Vic Moss and stuff. What I mean, and this is just a question because I really don't know what he does, but I mean, I've even tried reaching out to him to actually say, what is it that you're doing? Obviously, because I mean, I know that you have that what's the one in the UK, Ian, that you have?
Simon.
Grey Arrows. Well, they had the
FPV UK and Grey
Arrows Drones Club.
Yeah. But isn't there the other one as well? There's the other big one, not FPV UK.
RPass.
RPass, yeah.
They're not big. That's one man and a dog.
But RPass.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, my point is that these organizations are representing, but they don't seem to be in alignment. So they don't seem to be, I don't know who they're reporting to. I don't know who they're getting reports from. I don't know how that's working. I'm part of JEDA, so I'm in the Joint European Drone Association, and there's quite a few drone associations around Europe and stuff like that. But we are actually talking with EASA, and we do have meetings with EASA, and we do try to push through, and we do communicate that to the public to say, this is what we've done, this is what we're doing. You can come and talk to us, and we'll do that. And we actually do that, and we meet, and we actually discuss that. I don't know what the other ones are doing in the other countries, but they need to be in alignment.
Lining their pockets. Sorry.
What's your membership count? How many
members are going to drop that hand grenade out there and leave that one? In my opinion, I'll be careful what I say from here.
Yeah, but this is the point when it comes to community: is that there's no alignment yet with all these countries. No one knows what they're doing, and whoever's talking with the FAA, I don't know what they're saying and what they're coming back with and saying this is what we've discussed. And when it comes to lobbying, they should also be, reporting that back as well. And just from my point of view, what I see here, I don't see very much of that, especially in the US. I don't know what happens in the UK either. I just know what we do here in Europe. But there needs to be this kind of global alignment. I do agree.
Yeah, but even then, it goes beyond that. What's the membership of your group?
What do you mean?
How many members of your group?
Every European country.
No. How many individual members of the group? Like, how many people is it representing? That have...
I don't know, 40 or something.
It's not many, is it? We're talking about millions of drone users worldwide, and we have all these little factions that pop up representing 100 here and 200, mainly industry, not the hobby recreational users, which are by far and away the largest users. So we've got the vast majority, which are hobby recreational users, not a member of any group, unrepresented, no power at all, because they're all just tiny little voices that no one hears. We need this global umbrella that gets everybody under it, and that we can, like the aviation community, manned aviation community, they have some pretty good global representation, and virtually everyone I know who flies an airplane is a member of some representative body. But we don't have that with drones, and that's why we have no power, no control, and we're basically just carried along the river with the flow of the thing. We can't push back. We need to have some organization to push back.
Well, I think that probably not. I think that most of the hobby, most of them don't understand the regulations. So I don't even think that they would understand that there's someone that you should actually talk to.
I would love to be able to. Would never be able to find a number to pin the tail of the donkey on. But I reckon 99.99% of DJI users don't even know this is happening.
Well, actually,
I almost guarantee it.
Gary, did you report on the findings from the Nordic regions a few months ago? I think it was February.
Yes, that's right. About the positive ones.
Yes, but it was negative. It was highly negative. But it was so. I mean, I actually have the numbers on my laptop here somewhere. But it was like 70% or even 80% of drone users in the Nordic regions didn't have a clue that they needed to be certified or whatever. It was ridiculous, So it's very hard to say that they're not being representative because they don't even have a clue.
Yeah, that's the job of a body as well.
I know that's another story, and I totally agree with that, and that's something else which we need to talk about as well.
Well, that's the registration fees and all that sort of thing, and do this and do that, and the aviation authorities will say this will increase safety a great deal, but they don't communicate to the people, and they don't bring them into the fold properly, and. Then it is. Is it a national body? Is it an international body? Is it international rescue?
How many direct communications have you had from the CAA as a result of your registration? They were going to use that as a way of staying in touch with drone users, weren't they?
They do actually send a bit out, but it's mostly that you can't fly here or you can't fly there. It's usually prohibition. I can't remember the way they word the email, but it's usually no-fly zones. So if there's an event or there's a show or something like that.
Yeah.
I think what is interesting in all of this, when we were talking there about the Red Cat thing and the others, and there are people. I've seen a lot of interesting comments that, what's different in that Red Cat video, for instance, compared to Orca, compared to Skydio. And I've just had a quick flick down Skydio's website. And I don't think I've ever seen Skydio show their drone being used for anything but reconnaissance in a military situation. So if you look down everything is about reconnaissance. And look, none of us are stupid enough to think that drones are not great for reconnaissance. They are. I've not seen anything from Orca saying offensive is probably the right term to use, offensive. Whereas that Red Cap video, out and out, is showing a drone in a military offensive situation and an FPV drone nonetheless. And that is the big difference here. That video is a step beyond. That is what we would have expected to see coming out of what we know is happening in the likes of Ukraine, not being advertised by a brand and manufacturer. And that is what is highly concerning to me.
Just before we welcome Ian in here,
welcome him. Welcome him. What do you mean?
do you have Sky Deal available in the UK? Can you buy it in the UK?
No, they never ship inside.
Okay, it's same here as well. Same here.
Yeah, it's and well, that's hello, Ian. But that's another thing. People are going on about we'll produce them, we'll sell just as many as DJI. No, you won't. You can't export them. And then people see it, they forget that.
But they fixed the problem, Gab, because they need to be able to make enough volume to make the business viable. So that's why they're banning DJI. It's because you need, if you can't export them, you need to make sure that they can't buy anything else in the US, and they have to buy them. So it's not. It's a cynical plot. Yeah.
But just if I can go back to what we were talking about, and the fact that the authorities don't actually communicate. They don't have the staff. They're so understaffed and underfunded. That's why half of things don't get done. We are moving, ahead so fast that the authorities can't actually keep up. That's why most of the permissions, whether it's SORAs or PDRAs, whatever it is, they take ages, to get actually, certified, because they don't have the staff. And I'll say this very honestly, for some of these authorities, they're absolutely clueless. They don't even have experience. There are people who come in, and I won't say any of who they are, but there are those that come in from the manned aviation side right into the unmanned side. So they have that negativity right away, right? But they don't have a clue, so they can't relate. They don't understand. And how can we move forward as a community, or let's say an industry, when we don't have the authorities who actually understand what needs to be done? But I mean, even for the good ones, and there are good ones as well, they're massively underfunded and understaffed. And we do slag them off, and we do shout negative comments towards them, and we give them a hard time. I do think that it's unfair. I'll be the sensible one here. You can hold up the red flag in a second, but they are massively underfunded and understaffed.
And yet they want the maximum number, and I'll pull out that number. They want the maximum revenue out of the bit they want to do the least amount of work for. That's why PDRA 01's is renewals now instant in the UK. They're automating AI. Here we go. We can come all the way back around to that. They're automating as much of it as they can, just to grab as much cash as they can, because certainly in the UK, the drone user numbers way outweigh the crewed numbers now. Way outweigh. It's and I'll also backpedal a little bit to the idea of community and people reacting and another master plan of moving that countering China thing into the NDAA. Was all those people that wrote about 2873 were writing about the wrong thing. that was also masterful that they all sent their letters in. But I again, if I could find the numbers, I'll almost guarantee not 1,000 people wrote in for that. I'll almost, if it's 5,000, I'd be real. Old McDonald has a server for AI. Oh dear. Oh dear. Here we go. It's going like that. I see where we're going now.
The sad thing with that is Bruce just had an AI write that joke for him while we're on air.
Yeah. No, it's all old school, mate. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I'm certain that the response that people think happened didn't happen. all the things that have happened within this community, because we keep banding that word around, people haven't they didn't react to 336. They didn't react to RID. They've not reacted. They didn't know it was happening. People didn't know it was happening.
Well, and even those that did know, like Rich Hansen, just sat through the S336 hearings, just sat and slept. He was asleep. I mean, that's the thing, that no one gives a damn. It's always someone else's job to protect your freedoms.
Well, they thought they were getting a great payoff of a guaranteed million man membership.
It's self-interest and crap. Yeah, it's just.
Yeah,
but I mean, I'm hoping that if this DJI ban goes ahead in America, suddenly all those people with a Mavic or a Mini in the wardrobe they use when they go on holiday will wake up to the fact that, oh my goodness, we should have been paying attention. We should have stood up and said something, but now it's just too late.
It's a bit utopian.
Just go and buy a $4,000 American-made drone now.
And RID's going to catch them. That's the great thing. As I've said it loads of times here before. If
offenders list with registration,
you've got names, address, and they were here it all is. And
they walked into it with their eyes wide open.
Anna has set up the several cities with citywide monitoring of RID broadcasts. So
your fine will be in the mail. They just have all the monitoring, and you just get letters in the mail with a fine. If you don't pay it, you go to jail.
I was actually I'm not sure if anyone's seen my tweet yesterday that I put. I was flying first thing in the morning here in Helsinki. And I was flying in one of the highest, security no-fly zones in the city. Right now, here we're very, very liberal. We can fly pretty much anywhere in the centre of Helsinki, except over the Parliament House, which is just 90 meters that way, and 200 meters over that way we have the President's Palace as well. I was flying over the President's Palace, and I made the applications, and everything was fine. I got approved. In fact, I actually got approval for the whole year, which is great. Woke up. I had to wake up 3 hours before I was going to fly, and I was flying at 7 o'clock. So I had to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, call the President's office, call the Prime Minister's office, call the police, which I did, and everything was fine. But unfortunately, there was a shift change at the police at 7 o'clock, and the police never informed the new shift manager of that I was flying. So 1 hour after I was flying, 8 o'clock in the morning, and the police rolled up in their van. Then they rolled up. What are you doing? What's all this? And I said, I'm flying. I'm gathering data. Apparently, their aeroscope had actually found me. It wasn't remote ID. It was an aeroscope. And but the President's office was fine. They've got higher security, and they would have been on me like a shot. But the thing is, the police. I didn't know the police had the aeroscope. I only thought that it was the President's office had the aeroscope. But now I know the police have it. And now I was actually put on the white list. So this one of my drones is now on the white list. So I'm actually seen as the good guy.
Someone will have to go on the blacklist to balance with the
No, but they actually called me later to apologize because the information didn't get through to the shift manager because he changed the shift and stuff. But yeah, I mean, we don't have, there's no monitoring of remote ID here, even though we have it. It's just not, it isn't monitored. But it was Aeroscope, and they seen me, and they knew exactly what it was, and they came to me.
Well, let's see if they buy the new encrypted version when that comes out. Well, it is out now, isn't it? Look, we've nearly gone the hour here, and now for the next hour, what news does Ian have?
It's nice to see Ian hasn't been kidnapped and fallen out.
We don't know.
Windowless
can he hold up today's newspaper?
This is AI.
Possible?
This
yeah,
could
exactly.
be AI.
Ian, blink twice if it's really you.
Can't see behind those.
That's why he wears the glasses.
Yeah. I can't remember, Ian. We haven't had a lot of Gatwick developments this week. We've just had some.
There was some good stuff though. CAA in the police.
Yeah, well, a little bit.
The memorandum of understanding, or whatever it was. Yeah.
I didn't know if we were allowed to talk about that.
Yeah, he tweeted it.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, that one's out. It's out in public. It was just really. again, it's just. I guess it's kind of daft because it's something to my mind that should have been public in the first place, because it's actually referenced in the CAA's own documentation. So it just mentions this memorandum of understanding, which is in, so that's CAP 722. But it doesn't tell you anything about it. It just says that we have this memorandum of understanding, and then when they ask for it, it's going, we no longer use it. I'm quite interested, actually. I didn't ask, and I will ask of when that became the case. It looks like it was renewed annually, and it stopped now. But I just thought it'd be interesting anyway, because the kind of conversations you always see, on drone groups is always, well, why didn't the CAA act on this? Or why didn't the police act on this? Or why did they act on this? So I was hoping it would answer some of those questions. I don't think it really does, really. But at least that people can look at it and make up their own mind. I shall just put the link. Let's just get the latest. Yeah, you put it on the screen, and I'll just paste it in.
Grab that there. Oh, you're going to grab it? I'm going to grab it. We can all grab it.
Yeah, I'll do a link directly to the. I'll put it in directly to the Freedom of Information itself, and people can just click that, and then you can go to the PDF that's in there. It's they've only redacted the people that signed it at the end off, so you've got the complete thing there, which is nice. But this is kind of one of those documents that ought to have been public in the first place, really. If you're referencing it in one of the caps, you'd expect to be able to just click through and see things that are mentioned. The thing that I guess that interested me out of it was just this 4 mentions of kind of the media in it. So it's wording like, there's like engagement with the media in respect of unmanned aircraft, enhanced coordination of media engagement. That's just 2 of them. And then it's develop key joint messages from media with other parties, inform the other parties of any planned proactive media activity. So there's actually a lot of mentions of media in that. And that's where I'm uncomfortable with that, because the CAA and the police, while your partner agencies, and there should be communications backwards and forwards, especially in day-to-day matters and the cases, trying to have this one uniformed front from the way the press is dealt with, I'm less comfortable with, because the police have their own motivations, as we saw with the consultation and RID, and the fact that the Home Office were playing with figures to manipulate the drone industry to get an outcome they wanted. Well, the last thing you want in that scenario is the CAA kind of being bound in this partnership where they've got to always be seen to be cooperating with the police, because you've got to think, well, police have their motives, and the CAA should be as far away from that as possible. They should just be they should just be there to speak facts. That's all that should be coming from the CAA, is just facts and looking at evidence on things, and just being sort of considering both sides of, I guess, and being independent. Once you're very in with the police and you've got that kind of partnership, it's that close, you then become just a voice to echo the messages that they want to get out, and that doesn't do anyone any favors. To be fair, we haven't seen it for the last 6 months, which has been good, but we did see in the build up to RID the negative press that was going out, and it was quite clear the police were involved in some of the stories. Very, the kind of the press access and the rank and so on. These weren't accidental. Oh, the press has found this and they're speaking to the police. These ones where the police has probably reached out to the press and said, "We've got you this story. Can you put it out there?" And that's where it gets it. Yeah, it doesn't do anyone any favors.
Well, that's where we're going to see now, as this DJI thing gets better known around and about. We'll see if it's going to come anywhere else. We'll start seeing the stories being seeded, little nods, little pushes, little prods. it'll start happening, and then you'll know. Then you'll know if it's coming to you. It's
That's the sad thing. You can see the pattern now. You can see all this negative press and coming up, and then you know there's something being pushed at the end of it. And,
narrative.
It's sad to be that way.
You can see it. It is a shame. So,
but that made me just wonder. Where I have it. We don't know actually which partner broke this off, but it does make me wonder. Have the CAA thought about this themselves and thought we need to be a little more independent because
stand back.
With the police being such heavy drone users themselves as well, you can't have the police policing the police. You need the CAA ultimately policing the police. So maybe that's the real motive. We don't know, but that would be kind of.
We know they have. They have. I know, gone in and done inspections, and not feared calling the police out on their method of operations. So, yeah, you could be right. They could have said, "Oh, cripes, we really do need to stand alone." So we just go over the hour. We're trying to keep this one to the hour. Back to the DJI thing. How do we think the timing is on this? Is this really going to be 10 years out, or is this next week?
Well, the Senate meets in the summer. No, in the winter. So around Christmas time or something. It's only a few months away before the Senate meets. And if it passes through there, then it goes to the president's desk. So it could be early 2025 that this kicks in.
So Christmas 2024 sales are safe then, considering 99%.
Yeah, although we could see some big discounts.
I'm not convinced. I think they're worried now because those comments, you look at those comments, that was, don't worry, anything you buy today is fine, is what that was. Discounts have already started. A3 is on sale.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That was, the summer special discount instant sale. Yes. Whatever it's called.
There's been a lot of sales on the past couple of weeks. They've been pushing it a lot. So
yeah, and there's there is new stuff in the pipeline we know about. There's a lot that's due. It will be really interesting to see if it drops or not. There is a new avatar, mini avatar we know about, which is meant to be coming. There's Mavic 4s, which were all in the pipeline. There's a lot that was coming. So the question is, will they, financially, you would hold out right now. You would just keep the same train running a minute until you understand what happens. And then if it doesn't happen, drop the new models at that point. Or do you drop new models now to revitalize sales before this hits? I think Bruce is right. I don't see this happening probably February, March 25, probably the earliest, isn't it, right now at this rate? Something like that. If it happens, probably mid next year, we'll have a better idea of how. Because even if it happens instantly, we won't really understand it for a period of time either, will we?
I think they're going to flood it. I think we'll see three new drones before the end of the year. 3.
But then they'll have to, if this ban does go through, they'll have to recalibrate their business because although the USA isn't the world, it's a pretty sizable chunk of it when it comes to consumer drones.
But it's not just the drones, Bruce. Yeah. It's the ground stuff. It's everything. This will hit everything, because when you read the document, it's very clear telecommunications equipment, and that would include all the ground-based cameras. Tell you what is interesting on that one, they are heavily pushing their power stations on the social. I've noticed a number of videos sponsored by DJI on the power stations. Linus Tech Tips had one, a couple of others. So I do wonder, would DJI very quickly try to pivot into...
Have they got Wi-Fi on there?
I was just going to say, have they got Bluetooth?
No, they must have some radio frequency.
DJI, I'd be shocked. It might have Bluetooth. It might have Bluetooth because you won't.
Even if it's got Bluetooth, it still has to have FCC certification.
Does it have a wireless charger on it?
It definitely has a DJI. I'm sure it has an app for communication.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
What are they called? DJI Power Bank.
DJI Power.
Let's have a look. and straight away up.
If DJ would like one reviewed before a ban kicks in, myself, Bruce, and Gary would be happy to try them.
Especially me.
I don't think one more than anything.
I don't think I'm in their good books.
I'm in the band. I should get one.
You're in the band, absolutely. Yeah, you can make coffee, 9.7 hours, fast charges, DJI drones. Oh gosh. Grid power.
They might want to add Skydio to that list.
Yeah. It's got a Swiss certification, reliable, blah, blah, blah.
All of the ones I've reviewed have app control. So every one I've got here, the Bluettis, the EcoFlows, they all have an app which you can remotely control them. It's quite handy, and they're Bluetooth usually.
Yeah, they must have. They must have. They surely must
but
have.
But Bluetooth wouldn't require... Would Bluetooth require certification?
Yeah. Yes. FCC certification. It's transmitting on 2.4. Yep.
8N1. 8M1. Oh, no, I think RTTY and Morse code MTV. 8N1. Trying hard to remember what 8N1 is. Which data protocol's 8N1 again? I can't remember.
It's RS-232.
It's 232, yeah.
No parity, one stop.
One stop. There we are. Oh, he said it about
old people like me know that.
Actually, very interesting. There's no mention of an app at all to remote control it. That's interesting. Be unusual for them.
Maybe that was on purpose.
Yeah. I'd be with you on that because that's not them at all. Do you know what I mean? That's really not them. Right, I'm under the main specs now. Let's have a look. If this doesn't have a wireless system,
we know.
We know why.
Yeah. Wow.
Hang on. No. No. Have you put in app? Hang on. What's it?
Everybody's looking. We're all looking.
Yeah, we're all looking.
We are all looking. Quick start guide, PDF.
Yeah, I'm going to have a quick look at the manual. Could this... Because it's out the norm that it wouldn't have an app, to be honest, compared to the other ones I've used, because all of the ones I've used have an app. Because you do a lot of the advanced configuration on the app, if I'm honest. I'm scouring the instructions.
I don't see on the quick start. There's no mention of a download this and away you go.
It's a DJI product that doesn't require activation.
I've just gone on the download, and is there any apps?
There is Assistant 2 for Power Series for updating the firmware.
Well, if it has that,
it might be USB-C connected or USB.
But that's USB-C. Yeah, it is showing USB-C.
Yeah.
But wow, no, there's no app. That's gotta be intentional.
They saw the writing on the wall.
There's no mention of app on the website on the spec page at all. There's no mention. Just
SF Jones says he doesn't have an app. Wow. Okay, that is
at Windows software.
Yeah, that'll be the assistant to update the firmware.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it sounds like that's the firmware update, but that wouldn't require certification. So they have released a product. Hey, look forward to DJI battery banks for your smartphones, DJI power stations, and
yes, but they'll probably send the data back to China through the power lead.
Yes.
Well, charging your phone is a risk. There are already a lot of vulnerabilities, not on Apple, mostly on Android, I may add, on charging your phone. So, yeah, your DJI power station could be a risk.
That's why I go to the airport to charge my phone.
Yeah.
I use the chargers in the airport. Apparently, the best.
It has a built-in Starlink for updating the data, I've heard.
Yeah.
So I see Ian also sent this people. Is this showing on your thing? Yeah, someone checking things off buildings. Well, I'll tell you.
There's a bigger worry than drones. Apparently, throwing concrete and all kinds of.
I thought it was just the final stage of DJI drone testing. Okay.
It is a New Year's hazard here in central Joburg. People chuck
that flies really
fridges
well.
off
That
the
flies
bridges,
better than
off
anything I've built.
buildings.
Mm.
Yeah, fridges are chucked off buildings here every New Year's. It is fridges. Yeah, the people chuck fridges,
New Year's
cookers,
fridge tossing.
New Year fridge tossing. I thought it was an international thing. Obviously, it isn't.
No, only the dwarf tossing is international, but fridges.
Dwarf tossing. Absolutely. Well, that's on your OnlyFans channel, I believe.
I'm glad to see you subscribed.
So next moment we'll be doing that in Bradford, I'll tell you.
Let's see if I can find New Year's Eve, Johannesburg. Yeah, no, it really is.
I think
modern fridges are filled with R600A, which is highly flammable. So you are, in essence, throwing a bomb off a building at that point.
Well, the thing is, if they have no power, there's not much point in using them, is there?
No.
It's true. They don't throw wind-up fridges off the top of buildings in South Africa.
Look, it's the top story of Google.
If they're throwing off 134A, that needs a license for recovery. That's bad for the environment. Throwing off 134A and R12.
Here we are. Residents of Hillbrow, a downtown Johannesburg neighborhood, stockpile all fridges, TVs, microwaves, and bricks on the top of high-rise buildings and throw them on the streets to celebrate New Year's Eve. Is absolutely true. That is
but
what
it's a worldwide
do.
phenomenon. In Russia, they throw important people off the third floor building.
Yes, that's true. They do.
Well,
how many years though, Bruce?
maybe this New Year in the US, people will start throwing off their drones.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, DJI.
And don't go to any meetings that aren't on the ground floor, okay, with this stuff you're doing with the Official Information Act requests.
I want to know who's going to play Ian in the almost guaranteed future 5-episode series on
Jasper Carrot.
Netflix. Jasper Carrot. He's on the Archers at the minute. He hasn't got time to be doing that. Yeah.
About this, just like the Horizon story, Ian, you will be the famous man who pushed on through it and found out it was a hoax. And it was actually a spider that crawled across the screen and no one wanted to admit it.
Simon Pegg.
I was going to say Michelle Pfeiffer, but yeah. Right, we've definitely
across the screen.
We've descended into nonsense. We've gone 11 minutes, 12 minutes over the hour. So with that, I think
you started with fridge tossing.
I did. Yeah. Well,
did the blame four-wheel at me.
Look, now you know it's a thing. It's not going to leave your mind, is it? It's not going to leave your mind. It's going to cause you great concern. But if you're in Joburg, do not go out on New Year's Eve at midnight in the street. Do not do it. So
I'm thinking that almost does need, because New Year's, it's also about people with the drones getting footage of it. That I am kind of shocked that someone actually hasn't filmed this and actually put a GoPro in a fridge going down.
Dive as this going down.
YouTube and TikTok version. There probably are, and I'm not.
Who's going to climb in a fridge and then be tossed off the building?
I can see a new channel. Will it bounce? That's the question.
Well, there's that great, those great lads. What's it?
Yes, they built things around off that tower, eh?
So I'm actually intrigued, Gary. Are we talking side by sides, a combi, or chest freezers? Is there any specifics here? Because look, I'm quite an expert on refrigeration. I'm actually a qualified refrigeration engineer. So I'm intrigued now. Are we talking?
What do you think they'll work again once do you think you take them off the street and plug them back in? And
there's less space in a combi. But a chest freezer has a bit more padding, so there's a better chance of survival. Yes. So you can climb in and lock the door and then toss it.
I just use an estimate. They're made of styrofoam.
They would take forever to
Some
float down, wouldn't they?
resistance.
Some of them. Can you imagine them
Yeah.
just wafting their way down? And be very, very, very disappointing when they hit the cars down below.
The beers
in
would
the
be warm
street.
by the time they got to the bottom.
Exactly. That would be a very disappointing way of doing it. How have we
You
managed
can
to
definitely
get
get a
2
small
more
child
minutes
in
out
an
of this?
undercounter. So you can get, it could be a family event. You can get a small child in an undercounter, and mum and dad in the side by side.
Don't.
Dwarves again. We get dwarves coming up every time.
Every time. Don't. It starts getting grim, doesn't it? Right, we're going now.
To all our
DVO, wherever you are.
altitudinally challenged people, we apologise.
Yeah. Look after yourselves wherever you're in the world. We'll see you again at 2100 Gin and Tonic next week. Cheers, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye. Oh, boom.